at one of my 4x4 raised beds. We're gonna set this one up a little bit differently though, right?
That's right. We're gonna run these beds with 4 short lines of Soaker drip line. And we're gonna start off with solid 1/4-inch tubing as the header.
Great, okay, so we've got our valve in here already.
Correct.
So we're just gonna wiggle this on, nice and tight. All right.
Okay, and then we just run a length of the solid tubing down to the end of the bed, and we'll snip it right at the end. Okay, and then we want to come back to the beginning, and approximately 6 inches from the edge of the bed, we're going to insert a 1/4-inch T. So this is your 1/4-inch T fitting.
All right, so what do we need to do?
Okay, we need to cut the tubing.
And then let me guess, put this in here.
So we'll take a little snip right here. Another 1/4-inch T. Before we do the last one, we come back and cut it off right where we want the last line. So I'm going to cut it right there, and right at that point, I'm going to put in a 1/4-inch 90-degree elbow fitting into the line.
I see. So basically, at the end, we're just putting in an elbow, so we don't have to cap it off or anything. We're just gonna put the elbow in and then put our last length of drip line from that elbow.
That's right. So now we will take our Soaker drip line, and if you will hold one end and place it at the end of your bed, approximately where you want it, and then we come back, and right over here, between 2 of the emitters, you snip the line.
Perfect.
So now you have your goof plugs.
And just basically cap off the end of...
Cap off the end of the line.
Now again, because we can only really have about a 15 to 20 foot length of drip line, we're only putting in 4 rows, so that's 16 feet, so we're well within the parameters of...
Right. Right. The flow is going to be very even. We're going to be getting almost 1/2 gallon per hour every 6 inches. Then we'll staple down the 1/4-inch tubing right to the bed.
We basically have 3 more 4x4s to lay out in this configuration.
That's right, and I think it'll take us another 10 or 15 minutes and we'll have this section done.
Yes. All right, Leon, you ready? I'm going to turn the water on.
I'm ready. Uh-oh, we didn't tighten it up, did we? See what happened? Okay, now we can see.
All right, Leon, you ready? I'm going to turn the water on.
I'm ready.
We're going to install some special drip irrigation for my containers over here.
That's right.
Okay, so let's install it.
Okay, we need to punch a hole in the main line at the foot of the container. So we take the Miracle Punch and we slide it over the tubing, and then we just squeeze. For this container, so we can control the water, turning it off if you want it for certain times of the year, or turning it on early, we're going to have a very flow valve that will be inserted right in the main line.
Beautiful.
Now we need to add some 1/4-inch tubing to come up the side of the container. We take the 1/4-inch tubing, insert it on the VariFlow valve, and then run it up the side of the container.
Fantastic.
Here's our 90-degree elbow. To that 90-degree elbow, we'll add 6 inches or so of 1/4-inch tubing one more time. Okay, it's on the fitting. I'll measure out the right amount of 1/4-inch tubing, about 6 to 8 inches, and snip it off. Next, we put our emitter. This is what's called a pot dripper. It's got a stake that goes into the soil, and it's got a barb that sticks out that has threads on it. You merely put it into the 1/4-inch tubing and spin until it's tight. Okay, there we have it. And then it will stick right in the soil of the container.
cool.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna run another line over to my other container here.
That's
so we're gonna put another hole in there?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not gonna put a valve in there.
No, we don't put a valve here. We're going to put a valve at the foot of the other container.
Okay, beautiful.
So then you can just walk over to either container, turn it off if you want to.
Okay. It's in. Now, how much water is this going to give my containers?
This will give your container about a half a gallon per hour. Once your container is saturated, you probably want to have your timer on for 10 minutes a day.
Great. So we've set up the drip line throughout the whole garden, and we've also set our timers to come on twice a day.
That's right, Patty. They're going to come on at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. for the right side of your garden, and at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for the left side of your garden. They'll come on for 15 minutes each at each interval.
Is that probably the right amount of time, or is it too much or too little?
Well, depending on your situation, and here it gets very hot in the summertime, you have a lot of vegetables growing, that's the right amount of time.
Excellent. Now, this timer, how long is it going to last?
Well, the batteries in the timer are going to get you through the whole season, so you just put them in at the beginning of the season and you're good.
Excellent. Well, let's go check out the drip irrigation system and how it works.
Okay.
It's working.
It sure is.
Leon, thank you so much for coming and helping me install my drip irrigation system in my garden. I think I can take a vacation this summer.
It was my pleasure.
Cheers.